As we've come off of football and now basketball is winding down, and some great, fantastic games, and one that was just awful. Arkansas and Eric Musselman just ran into a UConn wood chipper, but the Gonzaga-UCLA game ended crazy. You heard the shot there in the highlight, which was essentially from the very tip of the logo across half court that won it for the Zags. Michigan State and Kansas State into overtime last night, and so that alley-oop that took the lead, and then to seal it, Marquise Noel with a steal going coast to coast as the buzzer sounded was really fantastic. And what March Madness is why we all love it. Some great games last night. And Craig, we'll start off with Jerome Tang and Kansas State. Tim Fitzgerald will join us at 4:30 to go more in depth on what they face coming up with Florida Atlantic. But my gosh, what a game last night.
Yeah, I mean, that was the best game of the year, perhaps. I mean, I think that there was a lot of people making that claim, best tournament game, best game of the year, best basketball game, period, like in the last couple tournament. I mean, whatever you want to put it as, I don't think people are pushing back too much on, highlighting how excellent that was between K-State and Michigan State last night. I mean, you knew Sparty was going to be ready to go. I mean, they've been here, done that with Izzo over the years. That's a really well-respected program. And then the new kid on the block with Tang and the Cats, they've been one of the more fun stories in college basketball in the Big 12 season, and then now in the postseason as well. And it's just incredible. I mean, for a guy who was an assistant coach for nearly 20 years on the same staff and, wins the national title, and then as things go, just natural evolution. I mean, in a lot of other cases, he would have been, at 3 different spots as a head coach by now, maybe failing and then being an assistant again and then getting back another opportunity or bouncing between levels and all of that. But, I mean, what a testament to this patience and faith and God's timing, which I know that Jerome has referred to quite often, the role that his faith has played into the bigger picture of all this. But, yeah, I mean, to start, your head coaching career the way that he has, and to go and then, book yourself a trip now to the Elite Eight with a thrilling game at Madison Square Garden and an all-time classic, just incredible stuff. And the way that it ended, with him and Noel, and were they calling a play, were they not calling a play, and just the mystery behind that. But the way that unfolded, I mean, that clip's probably been seen, like 3 million times now? Yeah. I mean, probably way more than that, actually. It's an insane game. An awesome ending if you're somebody who's out there supporting Jerome Tang or Kansas State. Legendary stuff. They got still some road to go. Don't need to just, pack it all up just yet, obviously. There's more to play for, but just an awesome basketball game, and that was March Madness at its best.
Yeah, and look, the Scott Drew method is to kind of stay until you find something that's right for you, right? And there are a lot of times where you're just like, look, I've got to go. This is my opportunity. I got to go now, and it's not right. And then there's kind of fluctuations. The coaching world is not that steady. It's a hard gig to have. It's not consistent. And so to be one place for 20 years, I think a lot of people thought, I have a friend who told me, he's like, I just never thought that maybe Jerome wanted to be a head coach, or that that was what his deal was, or if he tried and maybe it just wasn't a fit other places. And he said, look, this is a good gig. I'm here with my best friend. What am I leaving for? But it was all about timing and finding the right thing. And, Kansas State was perfect for him at the perfect time. And look, they had 2 guys coming back, and, that's it is going to be the modern tale of, well, this is what you can do if you're the right guy, is you can get the right people in place and make a run. Basketball a lot easier than football, obviously, but football probably takes a little bit longer because you got a lot more players out there. But when you have to go into the portal and just get these guys, if you have the eye that Jerome Tang clearly had for the mix of guys that his team needed, and it wasn't just about going down a list going, okay, these are the best rated guys I can get. Well, I need a couple of guards. I need this. I mean, he needed everything. So it wasn't like he had to, kind of be, he didn't go all in on one thing or whatever. It just, and making it all work together is kind of a testament to him.
Yeah, and that doesn't guarantee anything, even if you've got a good eye, because, as we've seen, there's teams that are put together on paper that look great, and then you actually get underway, and you're like, oh, wow, we didn't calculate defense well enough. We didn't, get rebounding enough on these guys, despite that, they're ranked this or ranked that or whatever. No, he found the perfect combination of guys who were looking for opportunities, and, he has a clear eye for talent. I will say, they didn't have much coming back. Well, what little they did have was pretty good to start off with, and, he filled it out quite nicely, and just a sensational showing for them once again. Really do appear like they could be a team that could win a couple more games and like really pull off the shocking, result of all shocking results for a first-year head coach, no matter where you are. I mean, and somebody put it out like the list of coaches he's beaten already in his first year. With Izzo just last night, and Self before that, and who else was it? I forget who else was on that list, but there's a couple of other like huge names that he's already beaten. I think just in the tournament alone, but
Calipari?
Yeah, Calipari. Yeah, Calipari. I was thinking it was like Calipari, and
he's beaten. Let's see, in this tournament alone, he's beaten 3 national championship coaches with Izzo, Calipari, and Bill Self.
I think that's probably what I saw. Yeah.
So 3 guys who've won national championships. Not to mention, his best friend who he beat twice, who has a national championship. Now, that's his national championship too, but he beat that guy.
Didn't beat Self in the tournament, but beat him, in the season part of it. But yeah,
I mean, he beat Chris Beard's team earlier this year.
Yeah,
before that, while Chris Beard was still there. So
but I mean, Calipari and Izzo and Self, and I don't know, I'm probably
or technically there,
leaving somebody out that he's probably. I mean, he's beat Scott Drew twice. Scott Drew's no slouch. He's a Hall of Famer too, and I'm maybe even forgetting somebody, but yeah, just amazing to see the launch for K-State basketball and to know that there's still a bit of a ways to go. I'm not a big like rah-rah SEC, like the conference wins, everybody wins, but certainly we are in a time where it is sort of feeling like you've got to sort of have that pride if you're one of those left behind. And I think that, for people who are supporting teams that are in the Big 12 and are going to be in the Big 12, I mean, watching K-State do their thing is amazing in that way as well. It's huge. The units that you get as a conference and the extra money that comes in, and just the possibility that, you've had 3 straight years where a team's played for the national title. They've won the last 2, and possibly to have, I don't want to get too far ahead because they still got a ways to go. There's still, a couple big games to go before they get to that point, but they have an opportunity, and, Texas technically as well. They're still with that opportunity. So we'll see what shakes out as far as that part of it goes. But for a multitude of reasons, especially if you're a supporter of that school in Manhattan, last night was about as good as it gets, but it could get a lot better.
Yeah, and their opponent's going to be Florida Atlantic, who beat a really good Tennessee team last night, and super athletic, they make things happen really quickly. It's going to be a fantastic matchup, I think. I think that you could – I mean, at this point, you throw seeds out the window, in my opinion. Like, you get to the Elite Eight, like – the seeds are out the window for the most part because you're not really even talking about who's the best and whose roster's the best. You're talking about who's playing the best right now, who's hot. Now, sometimes you can certainly not do that in this year's tournament has certainly shown us that with all the teams that have now fallen by the wayside. Now, they're a 3 seed playing a 9, but watching Florida Atlantic, they don't seem to notice the number in front of the teams that they're playing. Like I said, Arkansas got rolled last night. And if UCLA was not a perennial basketball blue blood, and maybe the blue blood of all basketball blue bloods based on the run they went on under John Wooden, I would feel bad for them because of the last 2 times they've lost to Gonzaga in the tournament have been absolute gut punches. Mm-hmm. They were in control. The Zags really looked like they were, trying to figure it out for a long time there. And then when they kind of got back in it, Drew Timme was fantastic and in that game. And then when they got back in it and took the lead, that last, UCLA darting up the court, looked like maybe something was going to happen. But, man, I kind of do feel bad for Mick Cronin and the Bruins that's just how they've lost to Gonzaga in the tournament 2 times in a row.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal stuff. That's also March, right? That's the brutal side of March, and yeah, it's a difficult pill to swallow for UCLA, I'm sure. And what a way to lose. I mean, just a ice cold blooded 3 from way deep. Saw a lot of guys chunking up shots, last night, but that one was right on the money at the right time, and kudos to the Zags. so many people I saw just immediately going like, "Oh, there's the Big 12 for you." It's I don't know if that'll ever shake out the way that people expected it might, and obviously that's been broached by Brett Yormark that they've at least had discussions. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the basketball side of things, obviously. That was huge for just the Zags in general. But, if you are trying to raise the profile and add a little extra spice, a team that's adding more to their resume as well and involved in the mix is fun to see. So, yeah, that's something to continue to keep an eye on. And, as we evolve, like if Texas gets in the next round, then you got Texas and you got K-State. I don't know, Texas is leaving and UCLA is leaving, so the conference affiliations are a bit buggy. But, yeah, I mean, you see why Gonzaga would be appealing, right? I mean, here they are once again, and we know that they've, as much as anybody, got a hill they've not been able to really ever climb. I mean, they've had so many successful seasons and whatnot, but, who knows? Maybe this is the time. But what a game, what a finish, what a three. What a shot, and, yeah, what a disappointment and heartbreak for UCLA and Mick Cronin, as you said. But, man, what a night. I mean, I know there's a couple other games we haven't really touched on. You sort of mentioned them, though. But, yeah, I mean, all in all, except for there was – not all of them were close.
No.
But it was a very entertaining night of basketball, to be sure. And if you are looking at it from a certain perspective, to see K-State win and then Gonzaga win, and to knock out the last Pac-12 team standing at that, I'm sure people got an extra jolt from those results.
Yeah, absolutely. And, look, the Tennessee and Florida Atlantic game was good in that, Florida Atlantic controlled it for most of the game, but Tennessee did get back in, and then Florida Atlantic just closed really, really well. Now, UConn and Arkansas was – I mean, it was –
Yeah, Florida Atlantic, I mean, just that's what's – I think great about the tournament as well is not only the great games, but the brands that you get to see. And I don't know. I mean, I know Florida Atlantic was very good this year throughout their entire season. But still, I mean, how many people took it all that serious? I mean, I'm sure like the Evan Miyakawas and those guys, the round of 68 and, people like that have been on them. But yeah, I mean, you just see the brand name, and you're like, Tennessee? Like, they're not going to stack. At this point, like, that's not going to.
Tennessee literally just won a boxing match with Duke the week before.
Yeah.
So,
like, they're not going to. I mean, how's that going to stack up? But, man, it stacked up quite nicely. So that was cool to see. That sucks if you're a Vols fan. I mean, without a doubt, you thought that this party was far from over. But, man, what a shocker. And maybe not so much of a shocker to others, but just to see, Florida Atlantic over Tennessee was surprising in a great way. And I think that's, something that is really going to be a fun storyline moving over the next couple of days. Obviously, there's a quick turnaround, but what a cool story. And what a great thing for just college sports to have, something that you're not going to really ever have in football still occurring in basketball where, NIL is clearly a tough mountain to climb for smaller schools in football, but in basketball with smaller rosters, it's much more manageable. If you can be a good team that's not loaded to the gills with boosters and size and everything known to man like a Tennessee is, like, it's a powerhouse athletic department. FAU is not that. They're a percentage of that, and yet here they are getting past the point of, Tennessee and getting past the Vols. And I just think that's awesome. And that's not something maybe FAU could knock off a Tennessee in like a non-conference game or a bowl game when half of everybody's sitting out. But in basketball, it's just straight up, man. Like that's the beat. It's just 5-on-5, baby. Coaching matters, and that was very surprising, but a cool result.
Yeah, absolutely. And
then you mentioned Arkansas and UConn, and that was.
Here's the deal. The story of that is not Arkansas and their hyperactive male Kim Mulkey coach, because that's what honestly, his if they were twins separated at birth, I would not be surprised. Kim Mulkey and Eric Musselman, their antics are very similar.
If he ever comes out wearing like a Dalmatian pattern suit or something like that,
that's it. No, there's something going on here because foul calls and he just crumbles to the ground and rolls around throwing a fit. Like that's who he is. But they got drilled. The story's really UConn and what Danny Hurley's been able to do there, and really, wow. I mean, and that's another blue blood powerhouse program that is back on the rise. And one of those things that no one probably wanted to see, like when UConn kind of had their dip, you're like, oh, great, good deal. You know, if you're another blue blood, but UConn, they just churn out champions in basketball no matter what it is. And here they are back, and they've got a great shot.
Oh, yeah.
Of not only getting out of this weekend, but of winning this whole thing. That's a very, very good team. A very, very good team. So that's the story there. Coming up in the next